Okay, so this is going to be a wrap-up preview. If you want to, instead of me jaw-jacking my suck for a long time, then you can just skip to part 3. And this is what all the technical specific information that's on part 1 and part 2. All right, quickly here. Are there some bullshit problems on this Indian Challenger along with all other Indians? Yes. Have I named them off? Yes. What's a big one? The electronics. Number 2, correction, these were brought out in 2020. And Harley Davidson has had their ST line up for quite a while now, probably like 2010, 2012. So I got those two mixed up. But anyway, doesn't matter. If there are any other, I'll rattle off some fixes I need to do too, but if there are any other problems that you have with my video, then, well, fuck off, I don't care. Go get the information somewhere else, but, you know, this is one take. I do the best I can, and, yeah. So suck it. Moving on. Like I said, the Challenger came out, correction, which was 2020, in direct comparison to beat the Harley Davidson Road Glides, and they did. They did it hands down. The 117s, this Power Plus 108 at the rear wheel beats the 117s factory. Stock for stock, factory for factory, the 117s cannot keep up with the Power Plus 108, okay? Those numbers you can find all over the internet, and for factory, I'm not talking about other upgrades, okay? Because we all know that the 117, if you put a big bore kit on it or something, or you stroke it out, I mean, yeah, you could put up to 140 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel and 130 horsepower at the rear wheel with those 117s. Okay, I know that. Everybody knows that. Okay, that's not the point. The point is factory, at stock, at the rear wheel. Those 3 criteria must be met in order for anybody to have bragging rights. Why? Because I don't want to buy a fucking $40,000 motorcycle and then drop another $6,000 into it to get the powers I want. Okay? If a 117 is going to come out with 96 horsepower at the rear wheel, maybe, I think it's at the rear wheel, at the crank. Either way, all I know is that the 117 from Harley Davidson does not even come close to the power numbers that this Power Plus 108 puts out at factory at the rear wheel. Guaranteed. Less than 100 horsepower and about 110 foot-pounds of torque. That I'm guessing on, but I mean, for Pete's sake, you can't get the numbers out of the factory 117 that you can of this Power Plus 108 because of how it's designed. This is liquid cooled. This is pressurized to the nth degree. The ratios of fuel-air mixture ratio is so tight tolerances. This thing is a fucking performance machine. You can't deny it. I don't care if you want to put $8,000 extra into your motor. I don't got to do that, okay? Like I said in part 2, I put $1,300, all right? $1,300 of parts, which one was an ECU flash, because you need it. If you mess with any, like I said before, if you mess with anything in the air fuel mixture ratio on these Indians, you have to do an ECU flash to run it properly. All right, $1,300. I got an aftermarket pipe. Who doesn't change a pipe? I don't get mad at anybody changing a pipe. Indians sound like shit if you don't get a pipe. Number 2, I got the stage 1 air intake. More air, better breathing, better combustion means more horsepower. Number 3, like I said, you had to get the ECU flash, so about $1,300. And I showed you my dyno jet, okay? Here's where I'm going to start getting into the 121 Harley Davidson, all right? And then after I click on this, compare it to the Harley Davidson quick, then you guys can do what you want with this information, okay? $1,300 of performance modifications on this, and maybe I might put another $300-400 catalytic delete system on it. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Okay? 121.7 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel. So 122. Horsepower, 113.06. So 113 horsepower at the rear wheel. With only $1,300 worth of parts. That's it. For $1,300 worth of parts, I can pretty much match. This is where you guys are gonna fucking, you know, think you're all king shit and whatever. At $1,300 worth of parts, I will match stock factory Harley Davidson CVO 121. How do I know? Because I'm calculating and taking into effect the Harley Davidson's and basic engineering and basic engine of horsepower, torque at the crank, percentage differences. Okay? Everybody knows that there is a power loss between the engine and the rear wheel at the crank. All right? Harley Davidson is saying 110 horsepower. They're releasing these numbers. 110 horsepower to 112 horsepower, somewhere around there, and 139 foot-pounds of torque. Okay? You factor in the 8 to 12% degradation and power and torque loss from the crank to the wheel, you're barely making 100 horsepower with that 121 at the wheel. And you're making about 123, 124 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel. Now, if I were to take off my phone and still record myself, I just found a video, okay, on YouTube where the guy dynoed a 121, and he dynoed it in 3 different ways. He dynoed it with the air snorkel taken off, so the manifold, or not manifold, the fucking air inlet is right there. There's no filter. He dyno and the exhaust taken off. He dynoed it with some sort of electronics, cheating the electronics somehow, and he dynoed it a different way. When he bare knuckled this thing, he took off all the nannies or whatever and what have you, and he flashed the chip. He was getting 134 foot-pounds of torque and 115 horsepower. Okay, nobody rides their frickin' motorcycle with the air intake taken off and the muffler taken off. They don't ride their motorcycle like that. So I don't care about those numbers. Okay, I care about the numbers that he flashed up on the YouTube screen about the numbers that he was seeing on his dyno with everything buttoned up and everything, and how you ride it down the road on a daily basis. Okay, 105 horsepower, 102 I think I saw, and 124 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheel, stock factory. Now, if you guys don't remember me talking about this in part 2, these dyno charts don't mean shit to me and to most anybody else that fucking does dyno charts. Okay, they don't care about the numbers. It just gives you a basic estimate of what your bike could put out on that particular day with that particular dyno, the way that dyno is set up, and with, in all the other environment. Is it cold? 20 degrees difference. When you run temperature, 20 degrees can make a big difference. Colder air, better combustion. All right. So, I swear, if I were to take this bike and go on that exact same dyno a day later, my numbers will differ by 3 to 4 foot-pounds of torque and possibly 2 to 3, 4 horsepower. at the wheel. It happens every time. Okay? So, am I really worried about, you know, what my girl can do against what the 121 can do? No. Okay? Secondly, you're spending $43,000 on that 121 CVO. $43,000 starting. And a CVO, that's, okay, a CVO, you don't just get the stock CVO, you put shit on it, okay? As soon as you start doing that, you're going to be walking out of the dealership for $53,000, all right? Now you finance that guy at 6, 7, 8% interest, depending on your dealership, especially with inflation costs now. At the end of your payments, after 63 months to 72 months, that's $60,000 to $63,000 you're paying for a motorcycle that I bought, that I beat you, best bang for your buck, at $34,000. $34,000. You add in the $1,300 worth of performance upgrades that I got on it. So make it 35.5, okay? Or 36 or whatever, 35.5, sure, let's say that. I'm not doing math right now. Compared to 43. Yeah. Best bang for your buck right here. Not only that, the front suspension is good. It's way better than Harley's regular. Now, the CVO does come with 46, 48, 46 millimeter Showa front forks. Okay, Showa is an extremely good suspension company, one of the best. Is this Showa? I have no idea. I think it is. It could be Polaris. Polaris builds snowmobiles. All right, Polaris understands suspension, big time. All right, they build. If this is a Polaris suspension, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. This thing, I swear to God, in Minnesota, you're going around a corner, okay, and you're going around a corner maybe on a bridge, or you're coming off an exit ramp or what have you. In the springtime, there's, I was saying before in part 2, there's some heaves and calves or whatever that make big dips. This will not get unsettled at all, not one bit. I am not scared to go around a little bump around Minnesota spring roads. However, on a factory Harley, yeah, you better watch out. That's a butthole pucker right there. However, the new CVO 121, does it have a rear suspension adjustment? Yes, it does, and good for them. However, it's manual. Number 2, it's not Fox shock. It's one of their own. Okay. However, it is manual, and yes, it is manual on the move. They put out this big knob. It sticks out like that far. It's a big, grippy fucking knob. And if you're willing enough, you're riding along, you're like, oh, I feel like, I could go I need a little bit more tighter suspension because I'm going in some curves. All right, well, you can turn it up a little bit or turn it down a little bit, what have you. But it's not electronic, okay? No longer are the days with that CVO where you gotta fucking go back there and pump up that shock because you got a 140, 160, 200 pound hottie on the back seat. All right, they're called hogs for a reason, right? So, other than that, long story short, trying to make this as quick as possible. I don't give a fuck about numbers. I really don't. The 121 matches this. And why do I say matches mine? Because I added $1,300 worth of parts, and I'm still spending 10 grand less than you, approximately about 8 to 10 grand less than you did on your CVO. Okay? But you know what? This is called a Challenger for a reason. And this is exactly why Indian, now here's a knock on you, Indian, you better step your fucking game up. Okay? Because you came out swinging and you knocked Harley off their pedestal. They're not happy about that. They're pretty pissed. You took, Indian, I'm talking to you, you took 15 to 18% of global sales away from Harley. Their stock price dropped because you came out with this. So, very good on you. Good job. You came out swinging and you knocked him right off the pedestal, as you should have. You did your research, you bought multiple road glides and street glides, and you made sure that the Chieftain and the Challenger were bar none the best. You did it, great. You put all your R&D into the suspension and into the engine to make sure that you could beat them and do it well. And you did it. However, your electronics sucks balls, okay? Your Apple CarPlay connection sucks balls, and your fit and finish sucks balls, and your paint scheme sucks balls. Granted, this is a very beautiful motorcycle, and I will love her till the day I die. And it's a very beautiful color. However, the CVO has special paint schemes. Oh, sure. The Elite has some good paint schemes too, and you only build like 35, 50, maybe 100 of them. I can't remember, but comparing the paint scheme of your Elites to Harley's paint schemes, hands down, Harley's fit and finish and paint is classes above yours. So, so if I were to put this in automotive verbiage, if you all know about automotive and stuff like that, all right? The Cadillac CTS 5V Blackwing, the 2022, 2023, what have you, okay? That's Harley. The Indian is the Corvette Stingray. Okay? That's probably exactly how you should see these two bikes. Do they put the power down? Oh yeah. Are they really close in power? Oh fuck yeah. However, the fit and finish of the Cadillac is way better than the Corvette base model Stingray. And with that, this is my opinion. The numbers are not wrong. The numbers from the crank to the rear wheel are not wrong. And if you think they are, if you find any other different numbers from factory, stock, then it's just that particular dyno on that particular day that gave that particular motorcycle just a little bit different numbers. But I swear to Christ on a cracker, the horsepower and torque numbers that I put out just now might be 1 or 2, maybe 3 off at the most. And are you really going to feel that? You will in your wallet.